So Brendan, what's been your experience with partnerships? What makes them work? What makes everything tick and work right?
Well, I've seen good partnerships and I've seen bad partnerships. I feel like partnerships work when they first solve problems for the consumers, when they make things easier for consumers.
Okay.
One of the main reasons partnership works is, and I'll give you this example. When I was at the Jazz, there was an entire department dedicated to corporate partnerships, partnering with the Jazz on things.
Okay.
And from a marketing perspective, we would help out by creating some materials for them, like a pitch deck or something when they go to meet with this partner. And we would look at, what the company's customer base was made of and try to say, okay, your customers look like this, our fans look like that. Same people will feed more people to you. And that was a logical argument. But I feel like the real value of those partnerships was borrowed affinity. And what I mean by that is the Jazz, among other brands that you could probably think of, has high affinity. People relate to it. People love it. I'm not going to meet you and say, I'm a Crest toothpaste fan.
No.
Unless it's a very eclectic conversation. But I will tell you I'm a Jazz fan. And so when a partnership benefits from that affinity, right? In the case of a credit union, if I'm a consumer, I may be considering credit union A or credit union B. All things being equal, I might just go with the one that's partnered with the Jazz. Or when I'm thinking about a new credit union, I might just go with the one that's top of mind, which happens to be associated with the Jazz.
Well, it's kind of interesting that you say that too. I mean, think about something like NASCAR or Formula One. They have partners all over their cars. And if you are a fan of the number 3 and they are partnered with Home Depot, you will never go to Lowe's. I think what you're kind of getting back to, it's what fits with your consumer base. And if it fits, then it makes sense, then you can get those partnerships working and it's mutual benefit. In this case, they're paying you to use your stuff, but you're having the partnership so that their value is coming back to you.
Right. And I think there's brands that are so ubiquitous that any other company could benefit from that partnership. But I feel like more often than not, partnerships just need to make sense. So in people's mind, they can envision this company being friends with this company, for lack of a better word, right? Like in a case of a spa, it doesn't make sense for us to go partner with an accounting firm. But a Pilates studio, it makes total sense. A gym partnering with a tanning salon makes sense. A gym partnering with an auto body shop, not quite as strong.
Now, you've talked about corporate partnerships. Now let's bring it back down to that founder small business side. So if they're creating content, whatever the content is, and they're trying to get to a specific type of person, the big thing that's really important here is finding that type of a creator or type of person that has an audience that matches with your audience. It is ineffective to go into, in your case, like a spa partnering with a concrete company. Doesn't make sense, right? But in this case, it would be like if a makeup brand talking to a makeup creator, it would make a lot of sense. You find those situations that match with your brand so that you can be successful. Makeup is probably pretty simple, but let's say you're a SaaS company, finding the match for your SaaS company may be a little bit more of a challenge, but you have people that talk about technology. You have to find partnerships that match or meld with your brand really well. Otherwise, you're kind of just wasting time.
I would also say you should know your brand voice. You should know your brand personality. Even if you haven't put it on paper, you should be able to say, if I ask you, pretend your brand's a person, give me the attributes, right? And whatever you describe, go find content creators that match that.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Not just technology, but this, the same kind of vibe. If you're a social media platform, you could probably go with somebody who's more humorous.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? If you're an accounting software, you probably wouldn't vibe quite as well with somebody who's
maybe you would.
Or maybe. But the low-hanging fruit is to try to match that personality.
And there's lots of different types of partnerships too. I mean, this is the partnership when it comes to, from a marketing perspective. When I was starting a consulting company, I started partnering with people that sold or deployed IT services. And then when they needed people or help in that area, they would call me and I would bring the support to help them out. It's really that match of what you have, what they have, it aligns appropriately so you can be successful.
And I'll just throw this in. I feel like with partnering with content creators, there's awareness and then there's activation. And what I mean by that is there's, hey, this is going to get me attention or this is going to get people in the door. And we had an experience one time where we found this couple, they had very, very young kids, but they were millions and millions of followers. We paid them to come to one of our locations, but they were very Southern California, beautiful, celebrity-like. When we partnered with them, and we had to pay them a pretty penny to come in and engage with our facility and then post about it, we got a lot of impressions. But all things being equal, when we looked at the data, there was very little revenue lift. Then you contrast that with finding local, what we call micro-influencers. In this case, we're moms with multiple kids, sometimes stay at home, sometimes not, but they still needed to engage with their kids and get them out of the house, get them off their devices. And these were people with, 5 to 25,000 followers. Not big influencers. But when we targeted with them, within like a 10-mile radius of our facilities, we saw a definite bump.
You have 2 spas in the Salt Lake Valley. You don't want to be paying for impressions in LA. It doesn't really help.
Right.
And that's when it comes down to small business where there's the big challenge.
Well, and it's not even just about the numbers. It's about relatability. Can your customer, your target customer, put themselves in that content creator's shoes?
Yeah.
Are they able to say, hey, that person's like me? Then you're onto something good. I feel like the more your content creator resembles your desired customer base, that's the right play.
Exactly. That's really where it comes down to. It needs to align appropriately. And this is one way that you can rent somebody else's following that looks like your following. Sometimes when you're getting started, it's really hard to get that following to see you. You can accelerate it by doing things like partnerships.
Well, let me ask you this, because I'm sure this is on the question of a lot of founders. Let's say I have a budget. What kind of rules of engagement am I looking for with the content creator?
First of all, understand who your target person is, your persona. Understand what that creator looks like. And then when you start going in and talking to them, then you also need to know what's the type of content that will fit. Yeah, we talked about this one where there was a vampire creator that ended up selling a vampire video game at the very end. And it was funny. You thought it was funny. You watched it. You made it all work. Those are the kinds of things where you're like, well, I'm selling a vampire game. You do vampire videos, make it funny and connected. I mean, that's really what you're trying to find is that connection. I mean, if you're a SaaS company, you're going to want to look at somebody maybe that has a really good podcast. So you need to understand who you're really targeting so that you can go to that person really well.
Yeah, and I think what we'll talk about is the balance between letting the creator keep their authentic voice and they can provide positive but honest feedback about your product or service, but then also what are they giving you for what you're giving them? If you're giving them free product, you need to know what you want from them because they may go in a different direction unless you state that ahead of time and what they need from you.
There is a lot of different types of content that a creator can make. The user-generated stuff can be good, but if you're just giving away product, you're going to get what you pay for. You're going to pay someone to do it. If you don't give them good direction, then you're probably not going to get exactly what you're hoping for. The engagement side, you need to understand how much engagement the creator has. I don't really give a rip if somebody has 1 million followers if nobody engages with their content. If they have 10,000 followers and have a really high engagement, then that's the person I really would rather work with.
It comes down back to awareness and activation. If you're brand new or you're launching a new product, awareness makes sense. Just get your name out there, get people known. It's why people take out Super Bowl ads. It's why they do crazy stunts. And then there's activation. What kind of person is relatable to your audience so that they can see themselves doing and interacting and purchasing your product?
The big advice here is go out, find content creators that match your ideal customer profile. And when you're working with that ideal customer profile, then you need to reach out to those people and just say, hey, I think we've got a good match here. We can find a way that it can work for both of us and try it. And if it doesn't work, don't do it again. If it does, lean into it. And then you're going to find the right creator that makes a lot of sense. Some of these guys are really expensive. The little guys are going to be in the hundreds of dollars. The really big guys are going to be in the hundreds of thousands and maybe $1 million. The ones that you probably go on as a small business owner is probably a few grand every single time somebody posts for you that actually drives value.
I think brand personality makes a lot of sense. And the easiest way I can think of it is we're at a party and I want to meet that customer. You're my friend, so you're going to make the introduction. And the more all three of us have in common, the better.